First, I just want to say it's a blessing for me to be here. And it's a little dark, so I'm going to get a little closer. I can see your beautiful faces, though I know the eyes are the windows of the soul. And you all, as artists, called to be artists, try to dig deep inside of your own hearts and minds and souls and express what is flowing through you. Now, this is my very, very dear brother T. We've been at it for over 20 years now. He's the head of the of Black Men with Vision. Black men with vision, black men on fire, trying to bear witness to a love, a deep love inside of them. And y'all know that justice ain't nothing but what love looks like in public. What love looks like in public. And of course, love is the deepest thing that we can ever experience in our lives. It goes up, it goes down. It could be heartache, but it could be bliss and ecstasy. And for Brother T and myself, and the work that we do, not just here, but all around the country. Is that right, my dear brother? No. It's very, very, very much so. Do you want to say a quick word before I take off? We thank you, our brother. Oh, there you go. Thanks a lot there, man.
It's an honor to be here, y'all. Y'all don't know how much it means to me as well as it means to you that we're here to support you in your career, and y'all can get used to me being here because I'm going to be doing some stuff with y'all because I am proud of y'all. And this is something that's going to be very special to you, but the others that we're going to share it with, it's going to be an enlightenment to them as well. So I'm going to hand it back to Dr. West so he can make a major deposit in your life, and I hope that you pay attention and that you remember this moment, because moments like this is something that is cherishable to you as you go forward, that you had the moment with the Dr. Cornell West. So I'm going to hand the mic to him.
Give it up to our dear brother. Give it up for our dear brother. Definitely. But I want to begin by saluting the captain of the ship, and that is my dear sister Andrea Thomas. Give it up for her. She's magnificent. And alongside the head of that ship is our dear sister Yvonne, Evie Wright. Indeed, nobody like her, nobody like her. And I also want to acknowledge all of the distinguished faculty who are here. They make a difference. They make a very, very deep difference. And as you look back in your life, as you get older and older and older, you tend to reach one fundamental conclusion, and that is you are who you are because somebody loved you. No matter how high you ascend, that you are, I am who I am. You are who you are because somebody loved you. In my case, I'm talking about my beloved mother, Irene B. West, who passed 4 years ago in a couple of weeks. I'll never be the human being that she was, pouring all the love and courage and integrity and honesty inside of me, or my father, Clifton West, who did exactly the same thing, or my church, Shiloh Baptist Church, Reverend Cook, who baptized me 63 years ago, and I intend to be faithful unto death, of the deacons and the choir teachers and so forth. Why is that important? Well, you all already know as artists, this is the Denzel Washington School of the Arts. Is that right? This is a historic institution. And I think it's one of the great schools of the arts in the whole country. And I go all around the country. I was in Portland just 3 days ago talking about Denzel Washington School of the Arts because I had been here just a week and a half. That's the first time I come here. Now, I met Brother Denzel in a nightclub 25 years ago. And Sister Debbie Allen's nightclub, who's a sister of Felicia Rashad. I remember Denzel walked up to me. He said, you know, brother, he said, the big difference between me and you is I got to make a movie every 3 months in order to remain in the public. And you write a book and people talk about your book for 30 years later. I said, no, Denzel, I'm not you, brother. No, I write my books and things, but Denzel Washington is the finest, the greatest artist of his generation. And yes, he has a visibility. I hope you all get a chance to go to Broadway for him to do his Othello. I know the tickets cost $1,000. Sneak in the back door and sneak in the back door to see that brother do his thing. But Denzel would be the first one to say what? He is who he is because somebody loved him. His mama, his daddy. He's a PK. He's a preacher's kid too, isn't he? Right out of Mount Vernon. Oh, yes, indeed. When I see all those various figures on the wall, Sidney Poitier out of Bahamas, my God, I was blessed to spend good time with Brother Sidney. Towering figure. His closest friend, who was my dear brother, Harry Belafonte. Then I see Ozzie Davis and I see Ruby Dee. I remember my first book came out 42 years ago. Ozzie Davis was the first one to call me up. Brother West, you got to come to my church. We got to have a conversation about your book. It was called Prophesy Deliverance Toward a Revolutionary Afro-American Christianity. Talking about the ways in which black people been so hated for 400 years, and yet we still keep dishing out love every generation with forms of love warriors, be we artists, be we spokesmen, be we Martin Luther King Jr., be we Billie Holiday, be we Sarah Vaughan, and we ain't got to Stevie Wonder yet. Love in need of love. Or the OJ's Love Train, or the LTD's Love Ballad. What is it about these black people who are so terrorized, and yet every generation produce all these freedom fighters calling for freedom for everybody, not just those on the chocolate side of town? That's what spiritual greatness is. That's what moral greatness is. What? Mustering the courage to think for yourself, to love for yourself, and to generate a hope in your witness and performance so that you touch somebody else's soul to make them more powerful. And that's exactly what you do in your art. How many of you all actually play the piano? Raise your hand. Oh, Lord, we got some piano players up in here. McCoy Tyner, Coltrane, Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter, Mary Lou Williams, piano, Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Donny Hathaway, Roberta Flack. Oh, we miss her, don't we? We miss Roberta. Good God Almighty. But what is it about each and every one of them? They have exactly what you have, which is a deep calling, a sense of mission and purpose in their life, in their short move from womb, mama's womb, to tomb, the death awaiting each and every one of us. We're not here that long. And the question of leadership, and I'm going to end on this because we want to have dialogue. My dear sister Wright, and all of her wisdom, she said, Brother West, our students are leaders. Leaders in the making. And every leader has to come to terms with 4 fundamental challenges. One is integrity. And integrity is what? Moral consistency and constancy so that you shape your soul and character in such a way that you are trustworthy and reliable in various circumstances and conditions. Integrity. Second, honesty. Candor. Honest about yourself, the most difficult thing. Most difficult thing. To tell the truth about yourself. Tell the truth about society. Tell the truth about the world. And the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak. You know you're lying about yourself if you're not coming to terms with your own suffering and your own forms of fears and insecurities and anxieties. Can't tell the truth about America unless you tell the truth about the suffering in the hoods, in the barrios, reservations, the psychic suffering of everybody. Integrity, honesty, decency. Decency. What is decency? You all know what it is. It's just being kind to people, being gentle with people, and being sweet. And you see, black folk historically have been a soulful people. And soul ain't nothing but the sharing of a soothing sweetness against the backdrop of catastrophe. So if you soulful, you see when Aretha sings that soulful song, what is she doing? She's soothing us to help us get fortified in order to deal with forms of crisis and catastrophe and calamity and monstrosity, so you can keep it on. Or as the genius of genius Curtis Mayfield would say, keep on pushing. How you gonna get up next morning? Keep on pushing. Yes, decency tied to kindness and sweetness, and even tenderness is crucial. Like Otis Redding say, try a little tenderness. Bobby Brown say, not just Roni, but tender Roni. It's not just a song. Tenderness has revolutionary effects on people. Because just like justice is what love looks like in public, tenderness is what love feels like in private. Last but not least, courage, integrity, honesty, decency, courage. Denzel Washington on the stage, courage. Ruby Dee on the stage, courage. Toni Morrison writing novels, courage. James Baldwin producing those magnificent love-soaked essays, courage. And what's the opposite of courage? Cowardliness, conformity, trying to fit in, be well-adjusted to injustice and well-adapted to indifference. Courage shatters that. So those four pillars, crucial. And you hear it every day in this magnificent school. And I'm just reinforcing what your magnificent teachers not just talk about, but they exemplify in how they connect and relate to you. But try to always keep those in mind. Whatever form your calling and vocation and mission and purpose actually are. The integrity, honesty, decency, and courage. And then you go on and do your thing. And be true to yourself. And be true to the tradition and the loved ones who have poured so much integrity, honesty, decency, and courage inside of you. So let me stop there and let me open it up for dialogue. We here to engage each other, call and response. That's a fundamental character of black culture. Antiphonal. Curtis, Luther Vandross sounds so wonderful, but what is Luther without his background? Without Lisa Fisher and them singing back and forth. Marvin Gaye sounds unbelievable. What's Marvin without his background? We got to always be in call and response. And that's exactly what we do in our school context as well. So let me open it up. Please don't hesitate. Come right to the microphone here. And these lights are something, my brother, because these lovely faces, I'm just seeing so much dark. But I keep trying to make sure I can zero in a little bit, though. But that's fine. But yes, my dear sister, though. Oh, you just checking. You're not going to ask the question. Oh, okay. God bless you. God bless you. You want to ask a question, brother?
1, 2, 1, 2.
All right.
I'll go first. I'll have a question.
Indeed. Absolutely.
So, I'm the piano and choir and voice teacher here. We were there
you the
for
teacher.
Yes, sir. We were here
My
with the
brother.
chorale.
What's your full name, man?
Edward Callahan.
Brother Edward
Yes.
Callahan. Give it up for Brother Edward Callahan. His brother teaching the piano.
Yes, sir. So, I was telling my students that, you were the first African American to get your PhD from Princeton. And my question to you is, what are some of the struggles or what are some of the things that you had to go through that we may not know about if you're in a room with only, that you may only look like yourself, you're the only one in the room or things like that. What were some of the things that you remember that kind of kept you going through all the adversity and the hard times?
No, appreciate the question, though, brother. And again, I salute the work that you do. Yeah, that was a long time ago when I was at Princeton. There was about 5 black folk in the whole graduate school out of thousands. And with Larry Morris and Brother Hank Coleman, and I could see Brother Sakazi, who was in physics, and Brother Craig Watson, who was in economics as well. And I remember the first day I showed up in class, and I sat down in the seat. It's in philosophy. And this philosophy professor walked in. I think he was from Oxford or something. And he looked around and he said, "This class is for rational beings only." Then he kind of looked at me like I'm irrational. I said, Sookie, nah. He gonna learn some things. So then he says, who would like to give the first presentation? I put my hand up right away. I put my hand up in the name of Gil Scott-Heron, Nina Simone, Ida B. Wells, Harriet Tubman, W.B. Du Bois, all of that rich tradition. He said, okay, so next week I come and give my presentation. Shoot, I had worked that thing so in and out and all around and so forth. When I gave the presentation, he walked up to me and said, well, granted, that was one of the best presentations I've heard in years. I really appreciate that. I said, well, I thank you so very much. I didn't want to have to cuss him out or nothing. I'm trying to be Christian, keep my Holy Ghost intact. But I knew when I walked in, he had low expectations. But I had high expectations because I come from a great black people who reinforce self-respect and self-confidence in their actions, deeds, and performance. When you believe in yourself enough and know what you fall back on, it's so rich, wind at your back. And I didn't do it to prove nothing to him. I just did it to bear witness that what was inside of me. That's all. And then when I marched, I got my PhD and the things, he was there too. I just kind of wave at the brother. Just keep on moving. Because my focus is on mama and daddy and my kids and my wife and things. You see, I wasn't just obsessed with what he was thinking at all. You never view yourself through the lens of somebody else, let alone folk who think lowly of you. You view yourself through the lens of those who have loved, sacrificed you for you. And they do come in all colors. I had a number of vanilla brothers and sisters who were very much in my corner. And I had a whole lot of chocolate folk in my corner too. Because we connect as human beings. We connect at the deepest level of who we are at the very depths of our humanity. So I appreciate that question. How long you been here, my brother? First year. And you got that kind of love already coming at you, huh? Ooh-wee. Lord, who's one of your favorite jazz pianists, man? Oh, Lord, he's the greatest of them all. Art's the greatest of them all, out of Toledo, Ohio. Lord, he's blind like Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder, but he's seeing things most of us will never see in life. That's what art does. Provide us ways of seeing that you never did before, even if you're physically blind. You see, he's seeing deep things. I was just with Reggie Workman. I played the bass for, as you know, in Coltrane Quartet. and 61 with African brass and so forth. And he said one time he and Train were playing in a club, and Art Tatum walked in. Train shut down the music. He said, God just walked in, and we just want to acknowledge Art Tatum. Everybody went crazy. And the Art's a very humble brother. Of course, Coltrane was playing. He knows he's not God. I know somebody got said that, tell that to Charlemagne. Charlemagne to God. I said, Charlemagne, we love you, but you ain't no God, brother. Ain't no human being a God. Come on, let's just keep it real. But when Tatum walked in, oh, Lord, they all knew the greatest of the greatest. Oscar Peterson got to bow down. Tatum, you see. Father Hines got to bow. Monk got to bow down. He was the greatest of the greatest. He really was something. And they got a chance to get exposed to Art Tatum too? Really? Ooh, you all are so blessed. You're so blessed. You're so blessed. Other questions? Please don't hesitate. Don't hesitate. Yes, my dear brother. Yes.
Also, I do what I do. I'm actually the history and social studies teacher. So you are one of the reasons why I teach history. So my question is, because I have few of my students in the room,
Wonderful.
and I'm also a minister like yourself.
Well, I'm not a minister. I'm just a Christian. But
Exactly.
I got too much gangster in me to be a minister, brother. But I'm working on it. Pray for me. Pray for me.
Exactly. So I know that one of the books you wrote was Race Matters.
Yes.
And for a lot of students here, writing is so important because it allows us to write our own story, personal growth, and legacy. Can you share where you were and what inspired you to first write that book, and how important it is for all our students here to write their own stories and maybe possibly be authors themselves?
Ooh, it's a beautiful question. Now, give it up for our brother. You all are so blessed to have this brother. So blessed to have this brother. And he started talking about alphas. You know, we got black fraternities and things, and Martin Luther King Jr. and Thurgood Marshall and Donny Hathaway and Duke Ellington, a host of other alpha brothers. Now, Kappas, we love our Kappas and Omegas and so forth and so on. And we love the brothers on the block. And I've been blessed to teach in prisons for 47 years. And I love, love, love my brothers incarcerated. Because they got the same potential, same creativity as anybody else, made by the same loving and great God with the same sanctity and dignity as anybody else. But we alphas love the alphas too. There ain't no doubt about it. But the first thing I would say is that I was always deeply inspired by James Baldwin. James Baldwin is the genius of Harlem. In fact, you all probably read. How many read James Baldwin already? Raise your hand. Ooh, you on the way. Oh, don't be afraid. Oh, I saw you thinking, raise your hand there. Indeed, indeed, don't be afraid. James Baldwin is one of the greatest essayists of the 20th century. He's the finest writer of the English language in the 20th century. This is the language of Shakespeare, the language of Keats, the language of Shelley, the language of Hardy, the language of Swinburne. These are great poets. James Baldwin takes it to a whole new level. Very much so. And Toni Morrison is the same in that same way in that regard, those two giants. So those are the two persons who deeply, deeply inspire my own writing. And so when Race Matters came out, that was what, 1993? 32 years ago. See how good God has been to me? 32 years ago, I was 39 years old. That was my 9th book, actually, at the time. I've done about 23 books. It was just keeping that tradition alive was the main thing. But it's also true that for me, black musicians are the vanguard of the black freedom movement. I think musicians are the vanguard of the species, actually. I think music cuts the deepest level of who and what we are. It's visceral as well as cerebral. And it cuts through us as well as leads us, as well as motivates us. You think about the funeral, for example, of your mama or your daddy. It's silence and music. Language falls by the wayside. Language is always inadequate to deal with deep grief or deep joy. And so the music becomes a way of expressing the deepest thing inside of us. And so writing for me always ascends to the condition of music. See, Toni Morrison says, I want to write like Sarah Vaughan. Or Ralph Ellison says, I want to write like Louis Armstrong. It's the musicians who inform their writing. But I know we got some other. But yes, go right ahead. Go right. Yeah, there's my dear sister. How you doing there?
Hi.
And your name is?
Madison Miller.
I salute you, Sister Madison.
I hear you talk about music so highly as you're speaking to us, and I wanted to know, ever since you were a child and going through childhood, has music helped you inspire to get to the place that you are today?
Oh, man, you hit the nail on the head. That is exactly right. That when I was coming along, growing up, I grew up in Glen Elder, which is the chocolate side of Sacramento, California. So I'm a West Coast brother. I've lived in Harlem for over 40-some years, but I'm California to the core. And it was music which helped preserve my sanity as well as my dignity. So when I grew up, I thought I was going to be the next James Brown. And then Willie Mays. Those are my two greatest heroes growing up, because I was deeply devoted to sports with Willie Mays. Willie Mays just died. You know, he was the greatest baseball player in the history of the game. And he Afro-Americanized the whole game. He gave it a rhythm. He gave it a syncopation. He gave it a style. And James Brown, you all know, right? Everybody know James Brown? Funk Master? Absolutely. Absolutely. And they became then two persons who informed my sense of what it is to serve others. Because James Brown used to begin every concert, I don't exist without you, I'm an extension of you. This music is to serve you. And then after 3.5 hours of performing intensely, nonstop, he would always end the concert and say, did anybody come here to hear a song we didn't play? And somebody in the back would holler, you didn't play Soul Power. He say, hit it, Bootsy. And that's Bootsy Collins playing the bass. We're going to play that song for this one sister. Now that's what? That's using your art to serve others. It's not using your art to be a spectacle for others. There's a difference. See, a lot of artists these days, they just show up on the stage and people give them a standing ovation and think that's what it's all about. No, What it's all about is sing your song in such a way that you touch somebody else so that they feel as if they can make it through the day and preserve their sanity and their dignity. It's not just about you, a spectacle. You give everything, like Art Tatum. He got so many layers and dimensions going on in his playing, people can't keep track of it. Because he knows he's touching everybody on so many different levels. That's crucial. Because the people are at the center, not the artist. And the music is for the people. Not just money making for the artist, but soul shaking for the people. Y'all see the difference between that? The difference between money making for the individual and soul shaking for the people? And black folk come from a tradition of soul shaking people to keep them moving in the face of all this hatred and terror and trauma, to fortify us, to keep us moving with style and a smile. You got to keep that smile. You can just see Nat King Cole right now on the piano with that beautiful smile. Smile when your heart is aching.
Dr. West, we have another question.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Here we go. My dear sister.
My name is Nesma Muhammad, and I wanted to ask you, as a writer, what are the things that help you overcome writer's block if you've ever, experienced that?
Oh, well, I salute you first, my dear sister. Indeed. And it sounds like you a writer yourself, huh?
Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. You know, I think that all of us write at a certain pace, just like we live at a certain pace. So I'm not sure I'd even call it blockage. It'd be more of a kind of pause. You know what I mean? Where you taking things in and you're pacing yourself in that regard. Now, have you ever had to wrestle with that? Pause and write it. But you feel a certain continuity flowing all the time, right? And that's the crucial thing. You're reading all the time. You're taking in what will become the basis of what you'll end up writing. So you're forever fortifying yourself and preparing yourself. So in that sense, blockage for me might be a little bit too negative. I'd say, no, my dear sister is a great writer who's just taking some pauses to take in more as she continues to take off later on. Absolutely, absolutely. Appreciate you, my dear sister. How you doing there, brother? 1977.
My name is Eric Buchanan, and my question is, how do you retain your moral code when you are in positions of leadership and or guiding yourself underneath someone's leadership? As artists, sometimes we take on roles that might conflict with our own moral codes, and I just wanted your perspective on that.
Ooh, it's a wonderful question. And in your particular form, we just talked to this magnificent writer, though. And you're...
I'm a vocalist.
So you a singer, though? Wow. Who's some of your favorite singers?
Some of my favorite singers are Stevie Wonder.
Stevie, yeah.
Donny Hathaway.
Donny, yeah.
More current, Frank Ocean.
Frank can sing.
Frank Sinatra as well.
And Frank Sinatra sounding good. They asked Frank Sinatra who his favorite singer was. You know what he said? Billie Holiday.
Really?
Italian brother, vanilla to the core, working class, Hoboken, New Jersey, chooses a genius from Baltimore City. Across gender, cross skin pigmentation. That's what art does, doesn't it? Takes you at that deep human level. Now people say, I thought you were going to say Bing Crosby from Spokane, Washington. Bing can sing, but, you know, he ain't no Billy Eckstine, Johnny Hartman, you know what I mean? But he can sing. Give him a B plus. But Frank say, oh, no, I want summa cum laude. I want Billie Holiday. Yes. But back to your question, though, brother, is that I think all of us have to have accountability with people we trust. John Coltrane, spending time with Sonny Rollins, both of them the Colossus on the saxophone. Everybody trying to pit them against each other. It's almost like Drake and Kendrick, you know. Oh, they got to be at each other's throats. Who's the greatest? Who's the greatest? Talk about him. Trash him. Sonny and John Coltrane said, no, they pitting us against each other. We going to meet and appear together and say we part of a great tradition and we helping each other. Well, that's accountability. And when they used to meet, Sonny's still alive. Sonny Rollins, 92 years old. He's still alive. I was just blessed to talk to him just 2 years ago. He lives right up in Woodstock, New York. And he was telling me, he said, you know, he said, Train and I tried to keep each other morally and artistically accountable, meaning that free to be themselves, but still able to reflect on each other so that we could bring out the best of each other. So that in my own case, moral code usually had to do with mom and dad before they passed, and now has to do with my brother, Cliff, who's 74, and I'm 71, so we've been at it for a long time. And of course, you know, my family, wife and things. And then close partners, very close partners, very much so. Now, that doesn't mean I don't fall on my face. See, everybody's a cracked vessel, everybody. I'm just trying to love my crooked neighbor with my crooked heart. Because all of us got a crookedness in it. You know, Tupac say what? Thug life, revolutionary life. Tupac, how you gonna work that out? Listen to my art, and you hear all the love, and you hear all the gangster spirit too. And I'm wrestling with it. It's like the Pimp a Butterfly. Mortal man, says Kendrick in that last record, right? And that dialogue he has with Tupac,
Yeah, that's crazy.
isn't that powerful?
Yeah, that was powerful.
That's part of his genius, connection to a tradition, just like the pianist this my dear brother's talking about here, you see, very much so, very much so. Now, I saw on the wall that there was a brother who's having a live performance. Pretty. Is that you? That's you? Oh, man. Good God Almighty. I saw it on the wall, brother. And I said, Lord, have mercy. And you the brother? Yes. Dang, you ready to throw down, aren't you? Oh, man, you do your thing, man. You do your thing, man. Absolutely.
Dr. West, we have time for one last question.
Sure.
Doctor, we have Ahmed, a writer, rapper, and performer here.
Absolutely. We have as many questions as we like. How you doing, my brother?
I'm good. My name is Ahmad Crenshaw, and I know you're a civil rights activist. I wanted to ask, do you think that black culture has progressed or regressed in the last 50 years, and why?
In the last 50 years?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a deep question, my brother. We'd have to have a seminar, some water. I'll give you some Kool-Aid, and I might steal away with some cognac. But I don't want you drinking no cognac, but you drink that Kool-Aid now, brother. But your question's a profound question, and I would say this, that every generation of a great culture, you're talking about black culture, is a great culture, morally, spiritually, and artistically, right? And by greatness, I mean creativity, fortitude, and courage. That's for artists and for human beings. Creativity, fortitude. Fortitude is the connection of courage with character. Magnanimity, greatness of character. And then you got to have courage. Every generation has regressive and progressive elements. Every generation. There's no doubt about it. I think that in the last 35 or 40 years, it's been very difficult for black culture to be as great as it has been because there's a spiritual war against young black people to try to dumb down their music and try not to allow them to have access to the great ways in which art is produced. And that's true because of the market. It's just money, 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 money. People just want to make money, career, money, career, money, career. Well, you see, art is not just about money and career. It's about the shaping of your soul. It's about the preserving of great traditions, you see. And so there's been a real challenge of trying to hold on to the progressive. But when I listen to a number of the young artists these days, boy, the talent is still quite extraordinary. It really, really is, very much so. And this is true also in one of the great laboratories of black art, which is our religious institutions, the churches, as well as the clubs and things. A lot of those local artists don't get a whole lot of visibility because they have to deal with the industry. And the industry is all about money, 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 money. But the artistry is still there. But it's hard to conceive of a Curtis Mayfield or a Luther Vandross in a younger generation because it takes so much time to cultivate that kind of genius and talent. And these days, the label just want a big hit overnight. That's it. They just want a big hit for what? For their money, for their revenues, overnight. And so that becomes much more difficult. You can juxtapose the two. I mean, the most popular artist, let's say, in the last 20 years is probably Beyonce out of Houston. Is that fair? Probably Beyonce out of Houston. Now, the greatest artist of my generation was Aretha Franklin. Now, y'all see the difference between Aretha and Beyonce? Beyonce is a great talent and a magnificent entertainer. Aretha is a genius who got a gut bucket sensibility of soul that will touch you at the deepest level, and she don't need no spectacle. All she needs is a microphone and a piano, and she gonna touch you at the deepest level. If Beyonce come in with a piano and just a microphone and ain't got her thing on and ain't shaking her thing, hey, it's going to be a different kind of performance. So that she's a great talent and she's an unbelievable entertainer, but Aretha is in a league of her own. Well, see, there's a juxtaposition. And that's not a putting Beyonce down. She's an expression of a culture of market and spectacle. Aretha is the expression of a culture of digging deep inside of your soul in the dark corners of your heart and transfiguring your pain into power and beauty. That's Aretha Franklin, you see. But they part of the same tradition. They go hand in hand. So that's just a beginning of an answer to the question. We got one last question here? Yes, indeed. Here you go.
Thank you, Mr. West. I'm very happy to see you. I'm Mrs. Keys. I'm the African American Studies teacher. This is a delight. I'm sorry, I'm trying to contain my smile. So my question is, what are your thoughts on the recent changes in affirmative action? And I was wondering if you could give our students any advice, particularly our seniors who are embarking on their college careers, because they're very fearful.
Thank you so much. It's just a blessing to one of the wonderful, wonderful members of the faculty here. But no, we're living in a very dim and grim moment. When I talked about the spiritual warfare on young folk, trying to dumb down the music and trying to make the music about stimulation and titillation rather than about care and nurture. See, that's a spiritual war. Flatten the music out. That's true for young people across the board. Affirmative action is another form of that war, another form of the attack and assault on black people. And the idea, the very notion of somebody like Trump. Now, Trump is a gangster. Y'all know that. And when I call him a gangster, I'm not engaging in name calling. A gangster is an objective condition. I grew up with gangsters. I got gangster in me. So I know gangsters when I see them. For him to act like he is where he is based on merit and then attack black people because we don't reach the standard of merit is one of the biggest jokes imaginable. No authority in regard to merit whatsoever, and then going to attack black people because we somehow don't ascend to the level of merit. That's what the attack on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that was the attack of pulling affirmative action. You got black people in this hemisphere for 400 years. For 244 years, we are enslaved with the most barbaric white supremacist slavery imaginable. It was against the law for black people to learn how to read and write under slavery. And then here come Jim and Jane Crow, another 100 years of neo-slavery. And finally in 1960s, we get a chance to enter into the mainstream, and they say, lo and behold, how do we, for the first time ever, try to treat black people fairly and justly? That's what affirmative action was. Because all affirmative action said was, if black people are qualified, they ought to be chosen. They had been qualified before, never chosen. W.B. Du Bois got a PhD from Harvard, wrote a dissertation in German, in University of Berlin, couldn't find a job anywhere as a professor. Was he qualified? H-E-L-L, yes. Did he gain access to a job? H-E-L-L, no. That's the history of black people. Qualified but can't gain access. And so finally when you get a chance to gain access, you get the attack. Saying they're not worthy of merit. And who's making the decision? Some of the most non-meritorious folk imaginable. Beginning with Trump and his crony of gangsters. So in that sense, we have to recognize just how dim the moment is. But we keep fighting. But you got to tell the truth. That's the key. And that's crucial. That's especially crucial for black leaders. And you all are all going to be leaders. I know all of y'all not necessarily black, but I'm talking about leaders as human beings, even though I'm zeroing in on the chocolate ones right now. You see, but we ain't excluding nobody. We just highlighting some, you see. And as leaders, you got to have the integrity, honesty, decency, and courage to tell the truth. Because you end up with leaders that don't tell the truth, then all they concerned about is money and their careers. And they cave in, and they give up, and they sell out. That's the last thing you need in any community. And my dear brother Mark, man, it's always a blessing to be here with you. You know that, my brother. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. He and his magnificent wife. Integrity, honesty, decency. Brother T can testify to that. We got some other wonderful folk coming in now. I'm telling you, that's wonderful. Indeed, indeed. But any other questions, any other queries, please don't hesitate. Absolutely. How you doing, my brother? Good to see you.
See you, sir.
Lord, 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 yes. There you go.
Great. My name is Mr. Julio Rodriguez. I teach physics here at Denzel Washington School of the Arts. And for myself, in order for me to be where I am today, I had to find a balance between my academics, my use of my mental fortitude, and an outlet. My outlet was martial arts to balance all of the mental stress and all the challenges I had in my life. And to see you here with PhD and all of your accomplishments, what was that other activity that helped solidify the balance that you have in your life? Was it tennis, golf? Was it martial arts? Was it, I would like to know.
Appreciate that. Give it up for our dear brother. Yeah, and in physics too. Boy, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. No, my beloved son Clifton is a black belt. So he's been at it for a long time, and now he's actually teaching and has his own beautiful West Comic project. But what was it for balance? I guess for me, really, it was more music more than anything else. I mean, once I could no longer engage in the level of athletic competition that I did growing up, and I moved directly into reading and writing and being an activist and so forth, it was probably more music than anything else, actually, when I think about it. Dancing, you know, I do a whole lot of dancing and do a little break dancing, try to make MC Hammer look like a Boy Scout, you know. Do a little moonwalking, put a smile on Michael Jackson's face. And I was blessed to spend a whole lot of time with his genius named Prince. In fact, I made a record with him. You see on my third album, Never Forget, with Talib Kweli and Andre 3000, and the great Gerald Levert, the greatest soul singer of his generation, who's the son of Eddie Levert of the OJs. I spent a wonderful time with him. Bootsy Collins, I mentioned, wrote 2 songs with him on his album, Funk Capital of the World, 2009. So I've been blessed to spend a whole lot of time with musicians. Jill Scott is on my album as well. She's one of the giants of her generation, just like Beyonce. I could go on and on. I've been very blessed to be deeply in the music world, even as I teach. And so when I made that remark about how it has helped preserve my sanity, I'm very serious about that. And then also, of course, it just comes down, and I am a Jesus-loving free black man. So that my Christian faith has been fundamental and elemental in terms of sustaining balance as well. And of course, I come out of the hang loose Black Baptist tradition. So that we got some musicians in the church that make a whole lot of these folk making money look like B-leaguers. They just stay in the church. They don't go into mainstream to produce music for money. They just stay in the church, the choirs, the Silver Echoes, and the male choir, and so forth. Well, we got some folks put a smile on Sam Cooke's face, but stay in the church. So that's one way of dealing with that balance, very much so. But it's the blessing to see a physics professor at an art school, huh? Well, give it up again for that brother. Lord. Ooh, and you said Rodriguez. Is that Puerto Rican, Dominican? What is that, my brother? That's Dominican too. Absolutely. Lord have mercy. Oh, I love it. You all got so many magnificent things going on at this grand consecrated institution. Very much so. Any other questions? Well, we got some new ones coming. Give it up for the new folk coming in. Lord, you're looking well, my dear sister. How you doing this morning?
Hi, I'm good. My name is Genesis. I take Miss Keys' African American class. And I'm asking this question from my friend Christina. Her question is, what advice can you give us to mentally prepare us for the real world in consideration of recent changes in our government?
Ooh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Wonderful indeed. And the recent changes in our government means that we have to be even more fortified, more ready, more prepared, deeper confidence in yourself, deeper respect for yourself, and a deeper connection to those who came before, who have poured so much love inside of your souls. That's what is required. Now, a lot of times, when I'm getting arrested on the streets and things, like down in Ferguson, we were getting arrested and they were singing Brother Kendrick Lamar's song, "We're going to be all right. We're going to be all right." I said, "Oh, they got a new anthem now." I like that. But the young folk come up to me all just say, Brother West, you got to stay woke. You got to stay woke. I said, if I stay woke, I might suffer from insomnia. I got to take a nap. I got to be able to sleep. But of course, I know what they mean. They mean stay fortified. Stay fortified. What is fortified? Well, my Bible tells me the 6th chapter of Ephesians, you got to put on the whole armor. Put on the whole armor on the battlefield so that your mind and your heart and your soul and your body and your connection of friends and community ready for battle. We've been talking about the genius from west side of Chicago named Curtis Mayfield. He wrote a song called People Get Ready. There's a train. What train is that? It's a love train. It's a justice train. It's a train taking you to the beloved community. Don't need no ticket. You just get on board. Curtis Mayfield says it much more eloquently than I could ever say it. Same message, even under these dim conditions. Get yourself ready. James Brown and Bobby Byrd met when they were teenagers in Augusta, Georgia. James Brown fell in love with Bobby Byrd's sister named Mary. And they were practicing. And lo and behold, they got an invitation, just like this dear brother right here got that invitation, going to do a deep thing, live performance. First time James Brown ever had a live performance. But they didn't have a name for their group. So Bobby said, James, what's the name of our group? He said, I don't know, Bobby. You got to come up with a name. James said, we the Ever Ready group. Because we ever ready. Even though we surprised we got asked. And that's the name of their group. That's James Brown's first group. The Ever Ready Gospel Quartet. And James Brown was ever ready. Just like the magnificent artists, students here, you all, let's say it together, ever ready. Exactly. You ever ready with your integrity, ever ready with your dignity, ever ready with your decency, ever ready with your honesty, ever ready with your courage, ever ready with your love, ever ready with your compassion, and ever ready with your style and smile. And never overlook style and smile, because your style is just like your fingerprint. Only you. There's only been one of you in the history of the cosmos, and there'll never be another you. Just like your fingerprint. That's your style. And if you're just imitating other people and emulating other people, you haven't found out who you are. What's the anthem of black people? Lift every what? Exactly. It's not lift every echo, is it? No, and those Johnson brothers, Rosamond and James Weldon Johnson, when they wrote that song in Florida, they said lift every voice, because an echo ain't nothing but an imitation and an emulation. An echo ain't nothing but an extension of a silo, of a bubble. If you just imitating somebody all the time, you haven't even found your voice. You echoing somebody else. That's one of the things that Monk told Coltrane when he was imitating Johnny Hodges of the Duke Ellington Band playing his saxophone. Quit imitating Johnny Hodges. Find your voice. That's what James Cleveland told Aretha Franklin. Quit imitating Marion Williams. Marion Williams was a great soul gospel singer. Aretha was imitating her as a young girl. James Cleveland said, find your voice, Aretha. And Aretha found her voice. All of us have to find our voices, not just in the song that we sing, but in the life that we live. In the life that we live. That's the key. So the answer to that deep question, even in these dim times, is ready, prepared, fortified, woke, but taking a nap and getting some sleep. Oh, yes. You run into folk that been woke for a whole week. What does that mean? They just barely making it because they ain't had no sleep for 7 days. How can they be ready if they ain't had no sleep in 7 days? No, you better pace yourself. Definitely. Questions, other questions, comments? Yes, indeed. Yes, here we go, my dear sister, my dear sister. Here, give it up for our dear sister. Good to see you. Your name is?
Hi, my name is Christina Gordon. I'm a dancer, freshman, and I was wondering, what do you think of this generation that we're in today?
The younger generation?
Yes, this generation.
Oh, Lord. No, I have great love and respect for the younger generation. And it's mainly out of humility, which is to say I'm old school, which means that I don't know or even fully understand the circumstances under which younger generation live. That's why I keep trying to listen to the music and stay in conversation with them, to learn and to listen and so forth. And it's a mutual thing, you know what I mean? I try to speak and provide insight. I try to learn and listen and gain insight. But I also recognize that the younger generation has some deep crises that we didn't have. Because y'all got ecological crisis. That's a heavy thing. You look at all the snow that's melting in Antarctica, and they talk about New York City might be floating away in 25 years. Now, when I first came to Harlem in 1977, nobody told me that my neighborhood might be floating away in 35 or 40 years, because we didn't have that kind of ecological crisis, you see. Not at all. But there's a lot of common things in place, which is what we've been talking about, which is that you still have to deal with self-confidence, self-respect, self-regard, self-esteem, believing not just in yourself, but in others who help you believe in yourself, so you can help them believe in themselves, so they can be true to the best of who they are. That's common, my generation and your generation. So I have great respect. It's just that, again, your generation is a generation that has been more affected by the market and money than mine was. You see, I give you a good example. When I was growing up, we went to church. We didn't have praise teams. We had choirs. Y'all know the difference between a choir and a praise team? Because I heard that magnificent choir. I heard the magnificent choir. The choir and the choral y'all had. Oh, magnificent. And Brother Mark, you were showing me on your phone when we were coming up from Harlem this morning of the Friday night where they had the long choir in blue against the backdrop of the blue. Now see, that's some singing from the soul. That's some singing from the soul. What market does is it tends to flatten out the stories and the dramas so that it titillates by sound and you miss the story and the drama in the words. So if you shift from a choir that's singing from your soul and a praise team that's trying to titillate your body, that's the role of the market. That's the role of commodification. You see. So it doesn't touch the soul at the deepest level. You see, when I was coming along, we didn't have any 7-Eleven songs. You know what a 7-Eleven song is? The whole song got 7 words. You sing it 11 times. You sing it loud as you want to and sit down. You say, hey, I need a story. Give me some drama. What is drama? Dealing with my wrestling, with my conflict and my hurt. I don't want no just superficial words with all of the stimulation of the sound. Let's get into the sound and the meaning. Ooh, there's a difference. When I was coming along, we didn't have mega churches. Y'all seen any mega church around? You know what a mega church is? These huge churches got thousands and thousands and thousands of people showing up. And then you ask these mega churches, do you have mega courage? Do you have mega love? Do you have a mega ministry for the prisoners? Or do you have a mega flow of cash for the pastor? That's a different situation. Reverend Willie P. Cook, who baptized me, he wouldn't take a penny even on anniversary day. Now, how many pastors these days, when you offer them some cash, they say, no, I'm working for Jesus. I'm not working for you. There's some around, not as many. That's the gospel. Loving the people. Serving the people. He drove a VW. You see any pastors these days driving a Toyota? There might be some, not too many. Because they got their eyes on celebrities. And celebrities drive what? Bentleys, Lamborghinis, what other kind of cars? I don't even keep track of all these kind of cars. Cadillac and so forth and so on. What else? Lincolns and all of that stuff. Now, I mean, I ain't got nothing against it, but it's a different sensibility. Ooh, some of them driving Teslas and don't know where they're going. But it's a different sensibility. What you all learn here at this great institution is integrity, honesty, decency, courage, service to others, the highest quality of excellence in what you sing and how you dance and how you talk and how you study physics. That's a different standard. That's spiritual, moral, intellectual, artistic greatness. That's not just success. That's not just success. And it's amazing. I mean, sometimes I see some successful artists these days, and some of them can't sing in tune. They just out there blowing and all like they. Luther used to blow a little bit just to play with folk. Now they just start off blowing. No, sing your song. What words are you saying? Pronounce like Carmen McRae and Nat King Cole and Luther Vandross and Donny Hathaway. I want to know what you are saying in your song as it flows from your soul, not all of these blurs all the time. Because the blur is a way of stimulating folk. No, it's not just about stimulation. It's about caring and nurturing people's hearts and souls. And that is a challenge for young folk these days, because the pull is money, the pull is market, the pull is celebrity, the pull is spectacle, the pull is image, rather than substance, content, real greatness. I'll tell you, one of the greatest singers in the last 45 years, his name is Glenn Jones. Most people don't even know Glenn Jones. Gerald Levert, he's some of the greatest singers ever. They never crossed over. What does crossover mean? Vanilla folk buying the records. Because there's more of them, right? So you're going to make more money. Gerald Levert could have crossed over anytime he wanted. He was true to himself. Glenn Jones. Yo, listen to Glenn Jones. Here I go again tonight. Towering figure, still alive. True to himself. You say, well, Brother West, he's true to himself, but he's broke as the 10 Commandments financially. He ain't got that much money. Yes, he does. He got some good money, but he doesn't have the money that some of the real popular folk have. That's a choice every artist has to make. Like they told Coltrane, play my favorite things. You sell thousands and thousands. You play some music influenced by Sun Ra, and you're going to have about 38 people in the club with free jazz. Am I telling the truth, brother? And what did Coltrane do? I got to be true to myself. And he had the great Alice Coltrane, his wife, herself a great pianist. John, true to yourself. Alice, true to ourselves. We're not in this just to make money. We're going to make some money. We're not in it just to make money. We're in it to keep alive a great tradition of a great black people, to pass it on. Other questions? I know we got some. Here we go.
Hi, my name is Sanaya Mackabee, and I had my question is, what do you think about TikTok and like the other apps? Like, do you think it's good for the kids?
Ooh, y'all hear that deep question? What do I think about TikTok? Is it a good thing for the younger generation? Lord, what do you think, Tom?
I kind of think it's bad because it's like a lot of bad stuff on there that you can find. And like, yeah.
Yes. She says she thinks it's bad because there's a lot of bad stuff on there, and I do understand. But the thing about any technology is that you can use it for good or you can use it for ill. You can use it for something that's positive or you can use it for something that's negative. The thing is that it communicates with so many people. I mean, you put something on TikTok and you got some precious brothers and sisters and siblings in South Africa who could see it. See, I didn't have that when I was coming along. We had transistor radios. We had a little television, you see. So that if you use it for good, you could send some positive messages all around the world, right? Very much so. Do you communicate sometime with your friends on it? Yeah, well, that's a positive thing, though, right? But you see so much negative stuff, too. But that's the negativity inside of people who come to TikTok and put it on there, you see. And so I think that I have a ambiguous attitude toward it. Yes, when it's positive, no when it's negative. But I think that's true for almost any kind of technology, really. Very much so. Same is true with my little cell phone that I have right here, you know what I mean? I resisted having this thing for a long time till my daughter put pressure on me. And now I discover there's a lot of good stuff on here, but it's a lot of negative stuff too. Just go right ahead, my dear sister.
Hello, my name is Samira Boswell. I'm a visual artist. And my question was, what's your stance on the black women and girls as the least protected class of women and children? And how have you participated or fought against this?
Yes, indeed. Well, one, let's give it up for the visual artists. Visual artists. Oftentimes we talk so much about music, talk so much about dance, we talk so much about literature, but visual artists, paintings, and very, very important. We salute you. We really, really do. And you all have the real whole gamut, though, huh? Variety of artists here in a beautiful way. But the ways in which black women have been the least protected, most attacked, viciously used and abused. And that's true by the larger white society and too often by black men. And I've come out of a biblical tradition that says what you do for the least of these. The least of these means those who are most vulnerable. And black women are the most vulnerable group, which means they have a priority. And it's no accident, I think, that so many of the great artists have been disproportionately black women. You think about that. You see, not just in the paintings. I was thinking of my dear sister. What was her name? Because I used to see it's Perindella or something like that. I can't remember exactly her name. She was a towering. Of course, Faith Ringo, we just lost, another towering artist. But in terms of the music, that as much as I love my black brothers, the Sarah Vaughns and the Billie Holidays and the Dinah Washingtons and the Ella Fitzgeralds and the Carmen McRaes, they set a standard that the Nat King Coles have to ascend to. The Bessie Smiths and the Ma Rainey's set a standard. The black intellectual tradition is the only intellectual tradition in the modern world that was begun by a black woman, Phyllis Wheatley. In the first novel, Harriet Jacobs, the greatest novelist, Toni Morrison, the greatest playwright, Lorraine Hansberry. I know August Wilson's a great one, but Lorraine is pioneering. The first black book published, essays, Anne Plato, black woman. The first black person to speak in public, Marian Evans, black woman. And of course, in the last 20 years, in terms of politics, it's been black women that have tried to save the country from fascism in terms of voting, in terms of political pressure, so that you can see the genius and the talents of black women, and yet at the same time, they are the least protected. They are the most vulnerable. That means our priorities must be always with the most vulnerable. And in this case, it has to do with black women, even as they so often exceed any kind of expectation in regard to achievement and accomplishment. And I know you will be part of that same tradition, part of that same pantheon of artists. Give it up for our dear sister. Give it up for our dear sister. Definitely. There's a hand over here. There you go. I can make my move here.
I'm Carrington, and I wanted to ask, after all the centuries that black people have been oppressed, why do you think that we are still facing these issues today?
Why are we still catching hell?
After all the centuries blacks have been oppressed, why do you think we are still facing these issues today?
Oh, yes, you all heard that question. And you tell me if it's fair to your question, my brother. After all of these years, even centuries, why is it that black people are still facing oppression? Is that that's a powerful question. It really is. And I don't think that there is a definitive answer to your question. Because when I talked before about, we've been in this hemisphere for 400 years or 244 years of barbaric white supremacist slavery and 100 years of Jim and Jane Crow, which is neo-slavery. And not until 1960 could the vast majority of black people vote, especially in the South. The South is where the majority of black people lived at that time, right? So it's only been 60 years we had a chance to vote. And even in voting, we had civil rights, but we still had such poverty. And we still had devastated communities, inadequate education. And then at the same time, we haven't had enough self-love and enough self-respect and self-regard. And so we have made some magnificent breakthroughs. But your question is not a question to answer in any definitive way, because the struggle goes on. It really, really does. And for me, I begin on this note, though, that given with all the things coming at black people for 400 years, it's a miracle that we still here. It's a miracle that we can still walk with style, with a smile on our faces, with memories of our grandmamas and our daddies, and straighten our backs up and lift not echo but voice. It's a miracle that Denzel Washington School of the Arts is here. Because when you look back at 244 years of slavery, it was against the law for black people to learn how to read and write. You all doing some serious reading, right? You're doing some serious writing, right? Ooh, that's a dream of the folk before. We didn't have the right to do that. And the only way we have that is what? Keep fighting. Keep believing in ourselves. But even as we fight and believe in ourselves, we still have to deal with the oppression. We still got to deal with it. So I appreciate that question. Yeah, go right ahead.
Brother Cornell West, I met you last time, and I directed the choir.
Oh, you were directing that?
Yeah. I am Brother Noel Farrell. I sing up there. I play the organ, can't read music, I sight read. And I just wanted to know, since I sing, I'm an alto, and I take inspiration from different people. And how do I exactly find my voice? Like, really? Because I take a lot of inspiration from different gospel singers. I'm a gospel head. And even the way I play piano and organ, I take that from Twinkie Clark. So how do I become my own person? All of my vocal stuff is from the Clark sisters. So how do I become my own person in terms of voice?
I think that the answer to your question is already in your question, because you're already doing it. The way you find your voice is to bounce your voice against the voices of others. It could be voices of the dead. Now, I know many of y'all takes very seriously the voices of a Phyllis Hyman or the voices of a Billie Holiday. They might be gone, but their voices are here, and we wrestle with our voices in relation to their voices. Same is true on the organ. Jimmy Smith, Lord have mercy, let alone the organ, playing that Hammond organ in the church. Some of them are alive, some of them are gone. We were talking about the great James Cleveland, right? James Cleveland might not be here physically. Shoot, I listen to James Cleveland at least 3 times a week to maintain my dignity and sanity, because his genius is at work. But you a real artist in the way I'm not. You a real artist when it comes to music, see. And so your voice is something that is forever being cultivated and reshaped as you bouncing your voice over against others. And you got a whole lot of voices I know not of. So I think the answer to your question is something you're doing already. You continually do that. How old are you now?
14.
14?
I'm 14 and a half.
Dang. So you only been a teenager for 2 years. Jesus Christ. Ooh, this Denzel Washington is something else, I'm telling you. But I salute you now. That is the truth. Go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Stanley. I see you're rocking your fro right now. Ooh. Have you always rocked your fro, like throughout your career? Do you think the system has like punished you in any way, or do you think you've had a hard time like gaining respect or feeling respected by your peers because of that?
Because of my fro?
Yeah.
It didn't make no never mind to me. I was gonna wear my fro no matter what. You know what I mean? But probably, you know, it probably could have gone the other way sometimes. You know what I mean? But you got to be true to yourself. You know, you got to be true. There's a great black religious thinker named Howard Thurman. I hope you all could write his name down. Howard Thurman. He was the teacher for Martin Luther King Jr. Howard Thurman. And he wrote a book called Jesus and the Disinherited. And he wrote another book called The Luminous Darkness. And he used to say that how you wear your hair and your clothes is part of your sacrament for living. Because that's part of your armor that you put on every day. You see, people ask me all the time, how come I wear a black suit every day? One is I just like it. You know, I feel like I'm cool and things, and I want to feel good about myself. But also because it's my cemetery clothes, and I'm coffin ready. See, that's part of your calling. Because when you tell the truth about white supremacy in America, you can get shot any day. I've been living under death threats since 1992. They come to my house, put a gun to my wife's head, looking for me, and so forth. Why? Because you get on TV and tell the truth. And you got some real sick white brothers and sisters out there who want to kill you. So I'm coffin ready, and I tell them, I ain't scared. I ain't afraid of them. I'd rather be a corpse than a coward. I'd rather be dead than afraid. So I got my armor on. It's like Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. They get ready, don't they? They ready to throw down. And being an artist and a musician, that's true too. That when you, where's my brother playing the organ? He playing the organ. When you get up on the stage, you got certain kind of clothes on. Make you feel good about yourself. Is that right? Oh, yes. Might even have certain shoes on. Feel good about yourself. You feel empowered. Then you ready to throw down. Uh-oh, what does that mean? What does that mean? That mean we got to go? It's time to eat. It's time to eat. Oh, Lord, but you all stay strong. What a blessing to be with you. What a blessing to be with you. Stay fortified. Stay fortified. Be ready. Stay ready. Lord.